Hey guys, your boy Rashad Anthony. I'm a Toronto hairstylist in Toronto. I specialize in curly hair, and today I am powering up with the power of the collective to show you guys some tips and tricks on how to style 4 type hair curls. Today we're going to identify type 4 hair and some tricks and tips on properly how to hydrate the hair, how to properly style the hair, and also making sure that we color the hair properly to ensure it has a lot of saturation so the color can turn out amazing. So today we have my beautiful client Charisse, who has type 4 curls. So to identify the difference between 4A to 4C, you can easily see right here. 4C, as you see over here, it curls, but it's struggling to curl a bit. So with these kind of textures, you want to add a lot more moisture and a lot of water to make sure you can actually really get the curl to form, because it takes a little bit more work for this one. The bottom over here, Charisse has more 4B curls. So it's curling, very much so, but you can still identify and see the curl. You don't have to add that much product on compared to the 4C curl compared to the 4B, but you still want to make sure you really soak in and put in your product to make sure it's really moisturized to get that curl definition. Her front pieces are more 4A. So compared to 4A, 4B, 4C, 4A is going to be the most loose curl compared to all of them. So in the front pieces over here, as you guys can see, right over here, this would be considered a 4A curl, just because you can see the definition from it already. It's not as tight, so it's not as frizzy as it would be for a 4C. And when it drops, it just drops down like that. It doesn't stick up like that compared to the 4C hair that she has mainly on the back and the crown area of her head. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys how to properly color 4 type hair. So as you see, I have my mannequin hair. She doesn't have a name, but it's good to go. So the key tip, a good pro tip for type 4 hair is to make sure you take thinner sections. So over here, I'm going to take a diagonal section for her hair. I'm going to take my clip. So I'm going to take my comb, I'm going to comb it out, not too much. The key is that you want to make sure the curls are a bit combed out, just because with type 4 hair, it's hard for any kind of moisture or any kind of product to absorb it in general. So with lightening the hair, you want to make sure that you really saturate it, because if you don't saturate, then when you lift your foils and see the bleach, you're going to see coloration. You're going to see a demarcation line. You're going to see some of it didn't actually penetrate through. So that's why it is so key, pro tip, so key to make sure you really saturate your curls. So as you guys can see over here, this is a big section already. When this section is way too big, I need to cut it in half. And the reason for this is if I don't cut it in half and I take that whole section just to bleach it, it's not going to penetrate fully. So now that I've combed out my hair, I'm going to take whatever tool I have right now, which I'm using this, and I'm going to start to weave. The key is with type 4 hair, it depends. If you want the color to show right to the root, I'm going to start weaving closer to the scalp. But if I went more of like an ombre kind of balayage, more natural kind of feel, I'm going to start from the bottom. So in this case with my mannequin, she doesn't have a name, but it's okay. We're going to go from the bottom to make her more ombre kind of balayage look for the summertime. All right, so I weaved in my section. So for the teasing part, to give her that ombre kind of balayage look, I'm gonna start more from the bottom. If I start more over here, then it's gonna give her a lot more color, but I wanna give her more of like a natural kind of summery feel. So I'm gonna start to tease from the bottom and go up. It's not gonna hurt her, don't worry guys, you're good. Go like that, really tease up. A little more teasing, and boom. You guys see over here? This is the color that's gonna be bleached. All right, so our lightener is all mixed up. So we're gonna take our foil. We are going to place the foil at the top there. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna feather up a little bit more just to make sure everything is consistent. Once we're done for feathering, we're gonna start to get our lightener. A pro tip for lightening for curls is I like to start from the mid because that's where a lot of the bleach is, and go down. And then the remaining that I have, the lightener, I like to just feather it a bit up. This is what's going to create the nice blend for when we actually apply our shades EQ, whatever kind of tone we want to apply on the color. And again, when you guys are applying your lightener, saturation is key. Key. I like to get another foil and just apply it on top. And then we're gonna fold the side, one side there, and one side there. So for me, a pro tip is getting 2 foils and putting them on top of each other. The reason behind that is, instead of me getting my foil and just folding in like this, I wanna make sure that for me checking it later on, it's a lot easier. So I can just go like this, open it up, boom, check it right there. So I'm gonna repeat this throughout the whole head. So I'm gonna go diagonal, and then once I get to the middle, I'm just gonna go a straight line over here, and then just do the exact same thing with the teething method and just fold it down. However, when I get to the crown, that's when things switch up. So what I'm gonna do now I'm at the crown of the head, I'm going to section it down where the ear is, right over here. Take this hair I have right here, I'm gonna cut it in a pin, and then at the front over here, I'm gonna take a circle section. So I'm gonna take a circle section at the front over here just to separate it, and there is a reason behind that, which I'm going to explain to you guys. So the reason why we take this section and isolate it is because I wanna start doing some baby lights at the front, so when she wears her hair back, it can show more of the color. So just at the lining of the hair, which I'll show you guys. So when we get to the sides, we're gonna start doing the same thing in the back diagonally. However, I'm gonna take a small section at the front right over here where the hairline starts, very thin, and a small section at the bottom over here as well, very thin. And the reason why I'm taking thin sections at the front of the hairline is I'm gonna tease as I did in the back of the head, but not as much teasing, just because I want the color to kind of like show off a bit more. So the less you tease, the more the color's gonna show. And because whenever she has the option of, say she works out, or if she wants to put her hair in a bun, for example, I wanna really showcase the color so that way they can just see it pop right there and still give her that dimension that she has throughout the rest of her hair. So as I said before, guys, we're going to just brush it out. And then I'm gonna do some weaving. So with this, the key before I said at the back, I want to do weaving starting from the bottom, just to give her more of the ombre effect. But because I want to showcase more of the color when she puts her hair up in a bun or she's working out or whatever the case may be, I want to really showcase the hair, I really want to showcase the color more. So I'm going to start to weave closer to the scalp. All right. So here we have our weaving and then teasing as well too. There's a difference between the teasing in the back and from the hairline. So I'm not going to start from the bottom over here because I really want to emphasize the color that we put on, which is going to look amazing. I'm going to start right over here at the mid. Boom, 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 boom. So as you guys see over here, there's some teasing over here, but then when we put the lightener on her hair, we bring it down, it's gonna look effortlessly and blend really nicely with her hair. So now I'm gonna take my foil and I'm going to place it right by the scalp, just like that. And then I'm gonna take my tail comb, tease a little bit more, not too much, because again, we wanna really emphasize the color for this portion. And then I'm gonna take my lightener, I'm gonna start from the mids and go up and just feather. Because we're doing the hairline, we don't have to feather as much because we haven't done that much teasing for it. So you really want to pop the color. So we're going to tease it, and then We're going to get some more color. And then we're gonna go at the end of it. Pro tip, when you have your client and you're doing this portion, give your client a warning because your hand's gonna be in their face and you don't wanna get any trouble, but yeah. And the key also, a pro tip is, like I said from before, really take your time, guys, with type 4 hair to saturate the lightener in it. So I'm not gonna like go down like that, but I'm gonna make sure my hand is kind of heavy to make sure everything is really saturating in. So that way, when you guys go check the foils, you see everything is even. Just because the hairline, usually it's a lot shorter than the rest of the hair, so you don't need a long piece of foil and overlap it. Another pro tip, whenever you guys are doing foils at the front of the hairline, because heat naturally comes already for us, you have to make sure you really check the hairline for the color when lightening, just because it will process a lot faster than the rest of the head. So as I mentioned before, for the hairline, we're gonna start over here and also just the bottom above the ear. That's where we're gonna do the minimal teasing. Once you're done that, then I'm going to just take some sections, go diagonally, small sections. So I'm gonna go diagonal, and just start to make my way until it goes straight. So I'll show you guys diagonal, and then just go with it until it goes straight. Right where we stopped our sectioning over here, from the middle piece, from the front, from the sides, that's where we're gonna stop, right over here. So we're gonna comb it out. When we're weaving our hair, we're gonna start from the bottom, not really the top, just because I want to showcase more of the color at the front. All right, so now that we finished the side section, we're gonna make our way all the way up to the front of the hairline. So it's gonna be the exact same thing as the sides. We're just gonna take it right over here, get a thin slice at the front of the hairline. And then I'm gonna start to weave. I'm gonna weave closer to the scalp because I really wanna showcase the color. And pro tip, for the hairlines, your weaving section can be a bit bigger if you want to showcase it, but in this case, because I want to go for more of a natural kind of baby light effect, I'm gonna be doing thinner weaves. So you want to get it as natural as possible. So this is my weave over here. And then this is the part where we're just gonna leave. So then once I apply the lightener on this section, when she puts her hair up, it comes from behind. So this looks like really natural. So another pro tip you guys can take away is that whenever you guys are foiling your stuff, the hair that you're not gonna be bleaching, just make sure it's out of the way. So you're gonna just stretch it like that. So whenever you guys are toning for your client, the most important thing is to see the client and see, okay, does she have more cool tones or does she have more warm tones? In this case, because I want to go for a more natural kind of summery kind of glow with my client over here, I can already see from her natural hair color that she has warmer pigments. So in this case with my client, I'm going to be using a gloss color that has a lot of bonding in it already and also adds additional shine with it. Especially with curly hair, the more shine, the better. So in the light, it can really showcase the color. So I love using these kind of shades with the gloss just to emphasize that shine that she has. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the cut. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is to make sure and identify your client's shrinkage. So with type 4 hair, shrinkage is real. That's a saying, the shrinkage is real. So to identify the shrinkage, you're gonna just pull the hair like that and see the shrinkage of how much it actually shrinks, and then let it go. You can tell whether or not the hair shrinks. Consultation is also very key whenever you have a client with type 4 hair. Ask them questions like, what do they use in their hair? Do they clarify their hair? Do they put a mask in the hair? All these different identifications will help with the end result for your client's cut to make sure it is amazing and fits her shape perfectly. So in this case over here, what I'm gonna start with is the perimeter of my client's head. I'm gonna slightly just comb it out a little bit like this with my fingers, nothing too heavy. Once I've kind of completed that, I'm gonna start the process of eliminating any split ends or any ends that are just kind of frizzing up. A pro tip before cutting your client's hair is asking them how much do they want off. So for example, my client here told me earlier on that she wanted 2 inches off of her hair. However, in this case, I'm only gonna take an inch off of her hair. And the reasoning behind that is because I'm not sure exactly how much her hair shrinks when I wet it and when I put the product in. So once it's fully styled, then I can cut more additional if I want to. So I'm gonna start to cut the perimeter of her hair. One key thing is that I'm not gonna stretch her hair out like that and cut. I'm gonna get my hand and just go like that slightly and then start cutting it. So I see over here, this is where she needs more of the dusting. And as she said before, she wants 2 inches off. I'm only gonna take 1 inch off right now. All right, so now that we've finished cutting the perimeter of the hair, making sure everything is dusted off, you're gonna ask your client whether or not they want volume or if they want definition. These two questions are gonna determine how you're gonna properly cut the rest of the hair, and it's very important. So, pro tip, one thing to keep in mind is clients that have type 4 hair naturally already have a lot of volume at the root. That's very natural given. If the client wants more definition, in this case, we're gonna be not doing as much layers as we would do with volume. So for my client over here, she told me that she wanted some volume. There's a difference between layers for volume and for definition. In this case, with volume, you have to keep in mind that you're gonna be losing definition. And the reason you're gonna be losing definition is because you want to just stand out a lot more and get all the volume at the root. Whenever I am cutting for volume, I want to take a diagonal section usually, and then just go up like that, creating it from shortest to longest. So the key is for definition, you're gonna want to add less layers for it. So in this case, my client just says that she just wants a trim, some dusting, but she really wants a definition to define her curls because she's fine with the shaping how it is. I just go in, get my hand like this, dust whatever parts that are not really curling that much, that are just kind of frizzy and dead, that I can already see is not curling. And then just to add a bit more of a shape to her hair sometimes, I like to go in, get my 2 fingers like this, go down, and just. So one takeaway, guys, from cutting is remember, do not pull the hair when you're cutting. You want to just lightly press your hand down. When you pull the hair, you have to remember that type 4 curls shrink. So pulling the hair and cutting it, you're gonna get even more shrinkage. So just use your hand slightly, and then you can just start to cut what needs to be cut at the ends, just to avoid any additional shrinkage that she may not want. All right, guys, so now to the fun part, which is styling. So keep in mind, for styling for curly type 4 hair, you wanna make sure moisture is key. Moisture and sectioning is key. When you're styling for type 4 hair, the pre-wash, you wanna make sure you clarify the hair. So using a clarifying shampoo. For me personally, I like to use 2 clarifying shampoos and then 1 moisturizing shampoo. That way, it ensures that all the products that they had from before, with a lot of buildup with creams, butters, or even leave-ins, it's stripped away completely from the hair. So that way, the new product that I put on the hair can really absorb in the moisture and really give that shine that you want for the hair. Pro tip, you wanna make sure you use a moisturizing leave-in that has hyaluronic acid in it. That's one thing I found with type 4 hair is that it really balances the pH level for the hair and retains the moisture a lot longer. So in this case, what I'm gonna do is before I start to section my hair, I'm gonna take a product that has a hyaluronic acid bond in it. Give it a little spritz overall. So this is more of a light leave-in for the hair, just to coat it. And just use your hands and just rake it through. And already the slip with it, it's incredible. It just slips right there. So now I have my base already for the entire head. So now the fun part, I'm gonna start to section the hair. And within sectioning, you wanna make sure you really take your time and taking thin sections. The key is with type 4 hair, it's all about taking smaller sections to really rake in the product to make sure it's absorbing and also that you can see the definition. So one thing to keep in mind, pro tip, is if a client's asking they want more definition for their hair, for type 4 hair, you're gonna wanna use a gel. A gel, any kind of gel like really works. So I'm gonna take about this much of the gel and really rake my hands in it. So the difference between the definition in terms of if the client wants volume and if the client wants more definition requires more product. So in this case, I'm gonna show you guys how to get more definition on this side and more volume on this side. So for definition, I'm really raking the product through. I'm even going a little bit up to the root as well, just to define the curls. And then, this is the fun part. So to really define your curls, you're gonna wanna get a brush. Doesn't matter, I like to use a denim brush. Just comb it through, making sure all the product is combed through. And then you're going to go on top, go through, let it sit, and scrunch. Pro tip, if the curls aren't really curling as much as you want to, what you can do is just take the curls that are not and just finger coil with your fingers, just like that, to give the additional definition that you want. Look at that already, boom. Curls for days, guys, curls for days. Once it's done, you're gonna wanna scrunch. You guys hear that? Water. Water is the main ingredient for type 4 hair. You wanna make sure the hair is soaking wet and you hear that, you hear the scrunch. That's what you guys want. And boom, just like that, you have defined curls with not too much volume because the client wants definition, right? So I showed you guys how to do definition, and now I'm gonna show you guys how to maintain more volume. In this section here, I'm gonna show you guys how to maintain volume. So it's a bit different, pretty similar, but you're gonna wanna use less product. So when a client's like to me, Rashad, I want volume for days. And I'm like, right in my head, I say to myself, okay, you want volume for days, cool. Obviously they want a bit of definition, but not too much. They mainly want the big bouncy look. So a light leave-in spray you wanna get, not a cream, because if you use a cream, it's gonna weigh the hair down. In this case, you want volume for days. So something that's very light, spritz. I'm gonna really make sure the product is fully saturated in the hair. Okay, so this is the key point, guys. You're gonna want to comb it with whatever brush you have, but you're gonna wanna go underneath. So going underneath raises the root, so you maintain more volume. Underneath, and let it, and then scrunch. Look at the difference, you see? On this side, you have more definition. On this side, you still have some of your definition, but more volume. So for the front section, I'm just gonna spray the hair down just to make sure I have the water and the moisture. As we said in the beginning, moisture is key. I'm gonna add some of the product. So for the first front sections, I'm gonna start from the back first and then make it way to the front. However, in this case, I'm just gonna show you guys how to properly define the curls for volume or definition. So as I said before, usually at the beginning at the front of the head, I wanna make sure that the curls don't just lay flat on the client's face. So I just get my brush. So I'm going to go from the bottom up. I'm gonna scrunch to hear that moisture. And because these are the front pieces, I want the most definition just to really show off that curl. Even if they want volume, I still wanna make sure my two front pieces at the hairline just really emphasizes the curl. So I'm gonna just finger coil like this, whatever needs to be coiled. And if you guys want, you guys can take additional product if you find that it's not really curling as you guys want to. A key point is if the curl isn't really curling as much as you want to, add some product and finger coiling. So finger coiling is essentially, you're just trying to train the curl with your fingers to curl. So you're gonna wanna start from the root and twist it. So as you guys see over here, depending on your client, the way their hair grows is the way you're gonna wanna twist your fingers to make sure it coils properly. So as you guys can see over here, my client here, her hair grows this way. So I'm gonna take my fingers and coil it in that direction and letting it set. This assures that your curls are really showing. So look at the difference between over here, that's not coiled over here. So if you're having trouble really getting the definition and showing off the curl, just get your two hands, your two fingers, coil it down, scrunch, boom, there you go. Definition right there. All right, so now that we finished styling our client's hair, what we're gonna be doing is diffusing. So diffusing is usually the one that takes the most time just because you wanna make sure you're really taking your time. The key is you wanna make sure your diffuser is on low heat as well as low air. The reason behind that is if your client wants definition, you wanna make sure that you avoid as much frizz as possible. So if I were to put on high heat, high air, then it's just gonna frizz up a lot faster. That's the difference between the definition and volume. For volume, usually I like to just put it at medium, depending sometimes, just because I wouldn't mind the frizz, and I tell my clients beforehand, if you want volume, you're gonna have a bit more frizz. That's totally normal. But in most cases, I like to put it on low heat, low air, and that way I can just pick it out later on if I want more volume, etc. Also, one key point too is asking your client, do they want shrinkage or do they not want shrinkage? Some clients always say they want to have as much length as possible. So in this case, whenever you're diffusing, you're going to want to avoid scrunching the hair. Scrunching the hair with the diffuser is going to cause it to curl up a lot more, causing more shrinkage. So if clients are like, Rashad, I just want less shrinkage and just more definition or as much length as possible, you're going to want to just hover like that. But if they want more volume, the bigger, they don't mind the shrinkage, then go right ahead and scrunch it with it. All right, so we're back with the final look. So once we've done all the steps, we're gonna go through our takeaways. So takeaway number one, moisture is key. So making sure the hair is super saturated and making sure when you're applying the product, it is wet, wet, wet. Also for aftercare products, you wanna make sure you wear your bonnet or a silk pillowcase. I will suggest that just because for type 4 curls, it does get frizzy pretty often sometimes. So just wearing a bonnet will help maintain the frizz so that way the hair can last throughout the week. Treatments is gonna be your best friend. Hyaluronic acid treatments are my favorite at all times for type 4 hair, just because it really helps balance the pH level for your hair and adds a moisture. The science behind it is incredible, guys. I always suggest it to my clients at least once a week if you guys can. For your wash days, I know it's a mission. I've been there, done that. I'm still been there and doing that right now, guys, trust me. So for your wash day, you wanna make sure you have your clarifying shampoo. So clarify your hair first with one shampoo and then add a moisturizing shampoo. So that way you can bring back the moisture that took away from the clarifying shampoo. Using a clarifying shampoo, really make sure that it gets rid of all the excess buildup you had from the previous products that you put in your hair. That way when you apply your new products to your hair, it can really absorb properly onto the hair to create the whole week for moisture. And last but not least, whenever you're cutting your client's hair, remember, you're not gonna wanna pull with your clients for type 4 hair and cut. You're gonna wanna just slightly hold it down and give it a little snip. And then later on when you're done styling, diffusing your hair, then you're gonna see which curls shrunk up, which curls need to be cut a bit more. Because remember, with type 4 hair, you have type 4A, B, and C all over. You don't just have one kind of curl pattern on type 4 hair. So that way, whenever you're done styling, you can see exactly what needs to be snipped, what doesn't need to be snipped. Take away all these key tips and you're good to go. All right, guys, that is the end of this segment. Thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you guys had some key takeaway points, so that way when you have your clients for type 4A, you know exactly what to do perfectly. Be sure to check out my other colleagues' videos to see what other type of hair you guys can learn and tips and tricks. And also make sure to follow us at Power of the Collective on social media. All right, guys, take care. Bye.